people see it. There's 146 million people who live there, and if they see it, they will probably stop buying the dolphin meat. There's 50 dolphin areas. Can you look at 51 now? 51 dolphin parks in Japan. And you know, if you go there, any one of them, or you go to SeaWorld or the Miami Seaquarium and ask them, why are you displaying dolphins? They'll tell you, we do this so we can sensitize the public, and we can educate them, and then they're going to protect the dolphins. Well, 50 dolphinariums translates into 100 million people who have seen the show, and now they're educated, and they're going to protect the dolphins. And when I show up in Taiji September 1st, I won't be able to find one of them. So there is no connection between dolphin shows and conservation. And I was thinking about that when we were out on the water today, putting the flowers there where this violent capture took place. And in my mind, I'm sort of arguing with these phantoms who were capturing them out there, you know. So let me get this straight now. You're going to capture them here from Penco and put them on display so you can teach people respect for nature, right? That's the deal? I mean, it's absolutely crazy. So the only hope is getting to consumers. And the best way to do that, I think, is television. And we're working on that.
We didn't get a disclaimer from the back of the kids that says, watching the show may be happening to you.
You would need the cooperation, of the, but there should be a disclaimer there. A warning sign. I worked with Hugo for a year, and I quit. That's when I really walked away. I had left after Flipper. When I came back to work with Hugo, and the tank is actually smaller than this room, right? It is smaller than this room.
Oh, yeah. It's only 80 by 35 feet.
So can you imagine, and it's not this deep, it's about, Hugo, when I would feed him, I would stand at the edge of the tank and his head would be above the water, half of him would be, his tail would be underneath him holding him up, so he's standing up. It's ridiculous. It was, today there are manatees in there, and it's too small for manatees. So about a year I took it working. Yeah. Yes, of course. Yeah, I felt it today. Do people know? Most people get up in the morning and they go out the door. They hope they don't bump into something on the way to work. They do their job. They come home, they watch television, and they're not awake. They're just not conscious. Those are the people, when I go to the Miami Seaquarium and look in the stands, they're clapping at all the wrong things. They're supposed to be rebelling at what they're witnessing. They're witnessing a spectacle of dominance. When you see the Lolita show, that is a spectacle of dominance. And it teaches us that dominance is good. Dominance is right. Dominance works. And that's what they're teaching their children. And they just don't get it. You have to really show them. You have to show them, and I think we can do that. But we have to, like this Lolita, Slave of Entertainment is a very powerful film, but unfortunately people haven't seen it. It hasn't gone on television. The killer whale, yeah, that was killed recently a few months ago at SeaWorld. That was not an accident. That was a calculated business risk. Look, this is a wild animal. If you and I went out into the jungle and brought in a tiger and put it on our property, our private property, and after, we killed 3 people, we would be arrested, probably after the first one. This was a calculated risk. There have been many of these orcas, not just the orcas, it's also the dolphins. That's where the reason the Flipper television show ended, by the way. The dolphins get very rough with you when you're in the water. They rebel against this. And a lot of people have been hurt. And they cover it up. There's lawsuits, And the deal is, we'll settle out of court, and you sign this paper, and we keep this quiet. As a matter of fact, before that, just a month before the SeaWorld incident, there was a guy, a dolphin killer whale trader, killed in Spain by a SeaWorld orca, and nobody heard about that because it didn't happen in the show stadium. It happened during the training area where there were, today everybody's got video cameras in these shows, so they couldn't hide that one, but if they can hide it, they will. Captivity of dolphins and whales is a failed experiment. We've been doing it since 1938. It started at Marineland in Florida, St. Augustine, and it's basically the same show that you saw in 1938. And it's a failed experiment. People who get hurt, trainers, people who are swimming with dolphins at these dolphin swim programs, should file a lawsuit against the National Marine Fisheries Service for allowing them to get into a cage with a wild animal. Yeah, I think it was. Well, they're not mentally healthy. That's what I think. I think most of the dolphins and other whales who are in captivity for long periods of time are not mentally healthy. Habitat dictates behavior. That's a given in science. Habitat dictates behavior. The habitat of Lolita and the others, we're talking about a sonic creature in a concrete box. Their primary sense is sonar. Our primary sense is light. Most of the animals in the zoo are visually oriented like we are. Scent oriented, visually oriented. The dolphin is sound oriented. And they're in a concrete box. We've been doing this since 1938, and we should have figured out by now they don't belong there. They shouldn't be allowed by the government.
How do you respond to students who are going through a marine biology program and they're returning to school or whatever it is they're doing, but they're coming out with the attitude that I'm here to help maintain the species or help the species that are dying out in the ocean? We're your only form of keeping them alive, so to speak, conservation work. How do you see that?
Well, I hope young kids do intern at SeaWorld and get the information and do what I did. Turn against it. It's a bad idea, it doesn't work, and it has nothing to do with conservation. And you can't really put your blinders on. That's what in the industry, when you're a dolphin trainer, or probably when you're an intern working there, they have a term, put your blinders on. Just pretend that all this isn't going on. It's an exotic job, you're going to get paid well, and that's it. Yes. I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
I think you're asking, do we go to schools? Could Rick or I or others go to schools and try to talk to the kids to let them know?
Gotcha. I don't do that anymore, but I did that for a long, long time. Yeah, I did that for many years. I would go to school and try to get people to understand that captivity doesn't work in the hope that they'll stop buying tickets. But it's a real slow process. You're talking to 25, 30, 40 kids, I would rather do it on television where you're talking to 100 million people. That's what my son is doing. He's more effective than I am. I spend a lot of time walking around with one of these signs, reading all of them. I reached a few people. He reaches, 100 million at a time. Well, the solution to the captivity issue I've struggled with for many, many years. And, look, I don't have a silver bullet or sit by the right-hand side of God and have the solution to all these problems, but I've struggled with that. What is the ideal situation? I think it's stopping all captures and releasing those that can be released back into the wild, and many can. Those that are born in captivity and cannot be released into the wild successfully should be given birth control. There is no reason in the world for a dolphin to be born in captivity. There's no reason whatsoever. It's not a positive educational experience. And so that's the best way to phase out that industry. If you go to the Monterey Aquarium, they have dolphins on display, and they're hanging from the ceiling made out of fiberglass. That's all you really need. You don't really, people protect humpback whales, people who have never seen a humpback whale in captivity. You don't really need them in captivity. So you can have a successful aquarium without having a live dolphin, and the Monterey Aquarium is proof of that. They have a line going around the building every time I've been there. I think it's the most successful aquarium. They don't have live dolphin shows. So you don't have to have a dolphin in captivity to educate the public about dolphins any more than you need a dinosaur. People love dinosaurs and they've never seen them. It's all about money. It's about jobs and money and money and jobs. And I know that, I walked away from that industry. I could have saved it. I could have my own dolphinarium when I walk out of this room. I know who called in Switzerland and get the money to do a politically correct dolphin therapy center in the Bahamas and be making $5 million a year. I could do that. But I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. Instead, I go to Tai Chi where I can't sleep at night.